What you're looking at here is not a prediction, it's a pattern. Real estate is not unique. It is simply the last domino in an economic sequence we've already watched fall, industry by industry. Travel fell first, then stock trading, then media, then transportation. Each one believed its gatekeeping role was essential, permanent, and protective of the consumer. Each one was wrong. The current leaders outdating coaching in this industry today is the biggest single problem. The industry refuses to change, so the consumers will force the change, and open access will be one of those modern-day frameworks to move the needle. My name is Steve Colino, and this is a long-awaited confidential remarks. The arc is always the same. Control access, defend complexity, dismiss alternatives, and then suddenly lose the monopoly when information becomes freely available. Real estate now sits at the far right of this timeline, not because it failed faster, but because it held out longer. Every gatekept industry follows the same six-stage cycle. The details change, but the behavior never does. It starts with control of access. Then complexity is used as a shield. Alternatives are attacked or shamed. Disruption arrives through price and information. The monopoly collapses. And finally, survivors pivot to advisory or disappear entirely. What's important here is not the theory, it's the location. Real estate is no longer early in this cycle. It is not even in the middle. It is squarely at the disruption phase, where pricing and information are no longer controllable. Travel agents once made the same argument we hear today. Airline pricing was opaque. Consumers couldn't compare options. Agents framed themselves as irreplaceable experts who protected people from costly mistakes. Then transparency arrived. Expedia launched in 1996, and overnight, consumers could see everything. Prices, routes, options. Commissions vanished, execution became free, and the idea that consumers needed protection from choice collapsed almost instantly. The gate disappeared, and with it the monopoly. Stockbrokers once warned that discount trading would destroy portfolios. They said amateurs would lose everything without high commissions and professional control. What actually happened was the opposite. Execution became a commodity. Costs fell from hundreds of dollars per trade to zero. And the value didn't disappear. It moved. It moved away from execution and into advice, planning, and strategy. The professionals who survived didn't defend commissions. They sold expertise. Taxi medallions were government-backed scarcity, limited supply, high barriers to entry, strong rhetoric about safety and consumer protection. When disruption arrived, incumbents responded with fear, lawsuits, safety panic, and moral outrage. But consumers didn't choose ideology. They chose convenience, transparency, and flexibility. The gate collapsed because the value it claimed to protect no longer matched consumer reality. Gatekeeping only works when information is scarce. Insurance hid commissions behind complexity until online, quote, engines forced transparency. Media controlled distribution until Craigslist and Google broke it open. Real estate followed the same path. Zillow and Redfin didn't destroy value. They destroyed information monopolies. Once consumers could see listings, pricing history, and market context, access stopped being scarce. And when access isn't scarce, it can't justify monopoly pricing. Here's the dividing line. What dies is gatekeeping access, transactional monopolies, opaque pricing, and order-taking execution. What thrives is high-end advisory, complex planning, niche expertise, and specialized services. Technology doesn't kill the expert. It kills the middleman who pretends access is expertise. Advisory work survives because complexity remains. Transactional control does not. Three forces are converging at once. First, price decoupling. Home prices skyrocketed while commissions stayed percentage-based. Second, information parity. Consumers now have full access through portals. And third, legal scrutiny. Anti-competitive behavior is no longer ignored. When these forces align, the defense always gets louder, not because it's winning, but because the threat has become existential. Late-stage gatekeeping always looks the same. Rhetoric gets harsher. Facts are relabeled as opinions. Alternatives are attacked instead of debated. And consumer choice is framed as dangerous. That isn't confidence. That is the end of the line. The end game is not chaos, it's clarity. Transactional services become commodities. Fees detach from asset price. Flat fee and service-based models replace percentage commissions. Advice becomes explicit, optional, and paid for directly. Professionals who adapt to advisory thrive. Gatekeepers lose relevance. This shift is not about discounting. It's about who controls choice. History is unambiguous. Gatekeepers always lose when consumers gain transparency. Advisors always win when complexity remains. The era of being paid for access is over. The era of being paid for expertise has just begun. This analysis is grounded in historical case data across travel, finance, media, and transportation, and in current real estate market dynamics and legal proceedings. The conclusion is not ideological, it's historical. Thanks for joining this confidential remarks.